Hello and welcome to episode 21 of the Gluten-Free Psychiatry Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Daniel Williams. In today's episode, we will be discussing how the brain itself rebuilds. Take a look at this picture here on reversible changes that happen in an area of the brain called hippocampus. And you'll see before and after post-traumatic stress disorder, it is reversible with several things. It's not just PTSD that can cause this. It's also traumatic brain injury, severe sleep deprivation, say at least 3 or 6 months straight, and major depressive episodes. And it does come back with several things, as we'll discuss here in this episode. So stay tuned. So check this picture out here, where there's a protein called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which means it's a protein that is expressed in the brain. It helps repair. It's present when there's a lot more nerve connections, neurons, and new nerve growth when the hippocampus is being regenerated. And so the top three boxes, that first row there, is a mouse brain on a microscope slide without any BDNF present. And the bottom three pictures, that row 2, is all of the mouse brain slides with plenty of BDNF present. So you can see a much more dense, rich network of neurons and connections. And every connection is a new idea, a new solution, a new positive attitude, a new positive spin. It's problem-solving ability. But the hippocampus is involved with learning and resilience. So trying to remember things, trying to learn new material, you've got to get sleep. And you've got to be repairing. It's hard to do that with traumatic brain injury. So look at what happens when this is exposed to chronic stress and adrenaline and cortisol from the adrenal glands. It inhibits the brain-derived neurotropic factors expression. There's not enough protein made, and there's not enough repair going on. So it affects the hippocampus, the actual cell survival. Neurons die, and they can regenerate. In my class of 2007 from University of Texas Medical School at Houston, we were told that you don't grow new neurons in your brain back then. And it's not that long ago. And here we are saying, oh, wait a minute, they do die and they do come back. And neuroplasticity means the ability to change and grow and make new connections, make and learn new things. You can learn a new language at any age if you have neuroplasticity. So then hippocampus functions affects a lot of things that ultimately boil down to your mood. Antidepressants increase, but that's not the only thing. I put that last on my list because meditation has also been shown to do the same thing. Same with a real weightlifting program. The study that they used was 2 months with a personal trainer where everybody got at least 25% stronger in every machine in the gym. Adding 2 or 3 more servings of fruit per day has been shown to increase BDNF. Socialization and support, like a job or friends, some kind of routine where you go and say hi to friendly faces every day and you're maybe serve kind of some purpose in the community, something to feel good about, right? And connect with others. Cognitive behavioral therapy is the Western psychology's #1 approach to mental health conditions. And talk therapy alone has been shown to increase brain-derived neurotrophic factor. You don't need the medicines or anything else on this list. All the things on this list were tried separately by themselves, and they showed results. So you can imagine doing more of the healthy lifestyle things, then you'll get a higher dose of the BDNF. You don't just need antidepressants. So you can order the book if you'd like to from 2016, The Combat PTSD in America Toward a Permanent Solution. And nowadays I would tell you that the mind shift is the permanent solution. So what is the governor of homeostasis? What decides when you need to learn something, or when you're too stressed, or you're too depressed, or there's too much adrenaline and cortisol, and you're trying to learn a lesson, you're trying to heal and get better, but you're overwhelmed. So just like in a building, you've got fire suppression systems, and unfortunately they're full of AFFF, the firefighting foam, and it's also known as PFAS, the forever chemicals, the same stuff that's in my blood that I'm detoxing from, if you go back and look at episode 3. This is episode 21, and I'm going to compare the system that's in these facilities that has fire suppression pre-piped through all those pipes overhead, a toxic forever chemical in there, and it's meant to put out fires. And inside of our bodies, we have a governor of homeostasis too, if things get too stressed. And you would think that BDNF could help rebuild the proteins by themselves. When I graduated residency 10 years ago, that's what I thought. BDNF's all you need. We can measure the blood test as long as you've got it. But there's a secret in medicine. What is the best kept secret in modern medicine? What is it? And why was that story incomplete? Graduating 10 years ago as a psychiatrist, thinking that BDNF was what the brain needed. There was nothing else mechanistically going on. It's because we have endocannabinoids. We have proteins involved in the same learning and the same fire suppression, the homeostatic balance of every chemical system. And here in psychiatry, I present the role of endocannabinoids in terms of mental health, learning, extinction behavior, the whole neurogenesis and synaptogenesis. Every time there's B and DNF involved with repair, learning, and building neurogenesis, new nerves, new connections, in other words, new ideas, evolution, where you're actually truly getting smarter, guess what? A protein that looks exactly like proteins that are in the cannabis family of plants and hemp family appear. We've got two major classes. You've got endocannabinoids and you have terpenes. And in this one plant, marijuana, you've got 400 or 500 different combinations of terpenes and endocannabinoids, not just CBD, but all kinds, like CBN for sleep and for nighttime, and tons of them, like limonene for, like lemon, for creativity and euphoria. So there's a lot of different science to this, and it's involved with learning. You can't talk about the brain rebuilding itself and not talk about endocannabinoids. So you can imagine if Dr. Russo from 1985 was right in his paper that it's possible for your own body to become deficient in these endocannabinoid receptors, then wouldn't it be a lot harder for the brain to recover, right? So it makes you think that we should have some research in medical marijuana for the rebuilding of the hippocampus. Anyone interested in that study, I would be all ears for you to join a mastermind group on that one. And so I've linked in my terpene and endocannabinoid knowledge into the great curriculum that's coming at Mindshift Care in the future. And so that comes from Cannabis Training University. I've got slides and all that. And here's the paper to show that it's linked. Brain-derived neurotrophic factor evokes the release of endogenous cannabinoids. Endogenous means these are cannabinoids. They are like cannabis proteins, but they're coming from within your own body. Your body makes them. And so many people that are knowledgeable about the history of medical cannabis for thousands of years believe that, because hemp was used with every agricultural and nomadic tribe throughout all of history and was being used for purses and wallets and bags and things like that in the room when they outlawed cannabis with the Marijuana Act of like 1938 or whatever it was. The American Medical Association president stood up in there and said, "Hey guys, you realize you're outlawing some things and products that you're using in this room right now, don't you?" He was the only one to speak out against it. It's very corrupt about marijuana. Turns out, I believe it's the biggest kept secret in medicine because you don't realize when you graduate medical school or psychiatric residency or neurology residency, neurosurgery residency, that the endocannabinoid system governs the homeostasis of every biochemical process in the entire body. And so watch some documentaries, go to some seminars, consider getting some additional training if you did not already know that, and you work in the field of mental health. Brain-derived neurotrophic factor. This is what the paper said. Their results of their study suggest that BDNF induces the release of a retrograde messenger from the postsynaptic cell that regulates the presynaptic neurotransmitter release. And if you go on to read that, you'll see that the endocannabinoid is being released by the BDNF. So it is its own feedback mechanism. The endocannabinoid that itself tells you pretty much just how much activity and effectiveness the BDNF is going to have. How much repair are we really going to do? So that's covered there, right there in the paper. So upcoming in January 2026, we've got the basic training for the One Light Healing Touch. I'm repeating that as part of the master's program. I'm excited because next week, as I record this today, before this gets out, I'll be actually in that class doing that. And so you can see some medical cannabis and endocannabinoid system episodes are coming up in 23 and 24. here that's going to help fill in some gaps for you. So stay tuned, and next episode will be Geoengineering Watch. This has been the Gluten Free Psychiatry Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Daniel Williams, online at mindshiftcare.com.